In the last video, we thought about the first question in the Shakespeare part of the English Literature Paper 1. Then we thought about the second question, where you have to write an essay on a theme, or possibly on a character. In 2018, the theme was violence, and we began to plan an essay on violence. Now I'm just going to show you an example of a model paragraph. For example, in this essay on how violence is presented, we said that at the beginning, violence is presented positively as something heroic because it shows Macbeth's love for his own country, and we added some quotations. Here's what that might look like as a paragraph. At the beginning of the play, Shakespeare presents violence in a very positive way. Now notice I've started by making my point. Here's the point I'm going to make in this paragraph. Violence is presented positively. It's always important to explain yourself precisely. So, what do I mean when I say violence is positive? In what way is it positive? So I've added this sentence. Macbeth uses violence in the defense of his king and country. Now my point is clear. Now I've made a clear point, I need to back that up with evidence. If possible, you need to use direct quotations. If you can't remember direct quotations, you can paraphrase. So, how do we know Macbeth uses violence to defend his king and country? You could say, for example, we are told how Macbeth used his sword in battle to cut a man open and blah, 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 blah. But better is if you can use the actual words Shakespeare used. It is said that Macbeth unseamed a soldier from the knave to the chaps. There's my quotation. Notice I've just picked out the words I need. He unseamed a man from the knave to the chaps. Now, having used evidence, I need to explain what that shows, and to explain as clearly and precisely as I can. If possible, try and focus on the actual words Shakespeare used. The word unseamed suggests that Macbeth's sword ripped a man's body apart, like clothing being ripped from its stitches. This grotesque violence shows that Macbeth has the courage to fight for, now I was going to say his country, but always show what you know. So I crossed that out. Macbeth has the courage to fight for Scotland. We know he is courageous because, and here I didn't write very clearly, always try and make sure your handwriting is legible or you will lose marks. We know he is courageous because he's described as brave Macbeth. And then I'd be wanting to talk about this in a bit more depth. The fact that he is nicknamed Brave Macbeth shows he has a reputation for courage, blah, 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 blah. When I've done a whole paragraph about my first point, using 1, 2, 3 quotations perhaps, as many as I can, then I move on to the next paragraph. I'd be talking about the regicide when he kills Duncan and trying to use 1 or 2 or more quotations. Then moving on to the next bit about how his violence gets out of hand, and so on, right through to the end of the play.